Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, hi and welcome. My name is Megan and I'm so happy you guys clicked on this video. This video is going to be a 5 exercise dumbbell only lower body workout hitting all of our major lower body muscle groups. So we're hitting calves, quads, glutes, hamstrings, all the goods. And in today's video, I really wanted to take the time to walk you guys through these different exercises and give you guys the opportunity to learn these foundational moves. All of these movements can be progressed to, for example, if we're just doing a bodyweight squat, you guys can use a dumbbell, you can move up to a hack squat, a Smith machine squat, you can do a pitch shark squat, a barbell squat. There's so many different variations, but the fundamental principle of how to do a squat is always going to be the same. Whether you're a beginner or if you're more advanced and you just want to make modifications, go for it. But this is going to have, like I said, all the basic moves to hit all those muscle groups. All of this can be done with just a set of dumbbells. If you only have one dumbbell, you can also make that work with all of these movements, and most of them you can do body weight. The only one that you may have more of a struggle doing body weight would be RDLs, but if you are super new to the gym, then I would recommend just practicing the hip hinging and getting into RDLs before even trying to load them anyway. So without further ado, let's go ahead, let's hop into this video right now. To begin, we are going to be doing a dumbbell sumo squat. So let's get into position here. You're going to have your feet wider than shoulder width apart, and you're going to have your toes pointed outwards, ensuring that your knees are going outwards as well, driving towards those toes. In terms of holding the dumbbell, you want to hold it with 2 hands in between your legs, assuming a slight forward lean with that torso, which you guys will see better in the side angle, and then dropping hips down, coming back up. You'll really feel this working through both the quads and the glutes. When it comes to squatting, I also want to ensure that you guys think about your feet staying glued to the ground. You want stability throughout the entire foot, so think about driving through that entire foot. You can place more emphasis in those heels to really work those glutes, but ensure that your toes aren't coming up or your heels aren't coming up as well. Here's a side view. I think it just shows a little bit better that forward torso lean. You also want to ensure that your core stays braced throughout the entire movement. And as you guys can see, this is an up and down movement as opposed to a front and back movement. So your goal here, especially when recording or looking at yourself from the side, is that that dumbbell's path is straight up and down and you're not wobbling forward or backwards. Same goes for any other variation of a squat. Now we are going to be moving into dumbbell RDLs. So with RDLs, I think these are one of the trickiest movements for people to learn and master. So I would start with very lightweight or even no weight and practice your hip hinge. If you already are familiar with RDLs, then you know your legs are going to be shoulder width apart. And as you guys can see, my toes are pointed forward, not out. You're going to hold the dumbbells at your side. You're going to hinge back at your hips, which you'll see better in this next view. And then as soon as your hips stop and aren't able to go back any further is where you're going to stop with those dumbbells. So from the side view, shoulder width apart stance, toes pointed forward, dumbbells at the side. Bracing your core and then pulling hips back as if someone had a rope around your hip and was pulling you by that hip, but your feet were stuck in mud. Keeping those dumbbells straight up and down as if you're shaving your legs, and stopping when you get to a stalling point where your hips can't go back any further, then you're coming back up. Contrary to a squat, this actually is going to be more of a forward and backward movement, thinking about hips shooting back and then coming back forward. Think about this as opposed to dumbbells and torso coming down to ensure that you have the proper mechanics and stretch in those hamstrings as opposed to feeling it in that low back. Now we are going to be moving into a hip thrust to target those glute muscles. If you've never done this before, I would recommend doing it with no weight at your hips. If you have done it before, then you know that you will set up the weight right in that divot in your hips with a dumbbell this big. I actually rolled it a little bit more onto my quad just so that I could get that full range of motion. In terms of your setup here, you want to think about having the box, bench, or couch, whatever you're using, aligned with the bottom of your shoulder blade. You're going to have the weight at your hips, and then you're going to keep your core braced. Chin stays tucked, so don't look up at the sky as that will put a lot of strain on that neck. And then you're going to have your feet at about a 90-degree angle. You can play around with how far out you go. If you put your feet more outwards, you might feel it more in your hamstrings. If you have it too close in, you might feel it more in your quads. So finding your sweet spot, and then also externally rotating your toes. So you guys can see from the setup at this angle, I have my legs at about shoulder width apart. You can go wider if it's more comfortable for you, but I have my toes pointed outwards to ensure that I am driving through my heels, and then I'm just scooping up and down, keeping my core brace and chin down, and you should feel that contraction on your glutes, especially at the top of the movement where glutes are going to be contracted the most. I also added a modification in the top right corner, so you guys could do this on the ground if you didn't have somewhere to lean on. Next up, we are going into step ups. What you want to do is find a bench or box that you can utilize if you're at the gym. And I like to put it by a wall or by a pole so that you can have that added sense of stability. And in terms of this movement, I want you guys to think about it in two parts. The first part being hinging back at the hip, then the second part being bending that working leg's knee and having that back leg's toe touch the floor but not fully rest on the floor. The reason I'm not having you fully rest that back foot on the floor is because you will often see people pushing off of that bottom foot and therefore losing the tension in that right leg, in this example's glute. So as you hinge back, have that slight forward torso lean and then also reach that back foot behind you without pushing off the ground. You should feel a great sense of stretch in that working glute. I also added a modification in the top right if you don't have a bench or don't feel comfortable yet. You guys can just do a reverse lunge, and I like to always tell you hold the weight on the side of the leg that is working. Last but certainly not least, we have calf raises. I'm doing them at a deficit, meaning I have my toes up on those boxes. If you're doing these at home, you guys can do it on a staircase and then have your feet hanging off the edge, or you can just do them without a deficit at all. The deficit is just going to give you a little bit more range of motion and stretch in those calves. In terms of how to perform this, it's pretty straightforward. You're just coming up on the toes, a little pause at the top to really get the contraction of those calves, and then you're coming back down, holding the weights at your side, and then typically I like to do these for higher reps. And now we are done with this 5 exercise leg day. All right, you guys, that is it for today's video. I really hope you guys found it helpful. I love creating this kind of content for you guys, and I have a lot more in the mix and planned for my beginner girls or just people who prefer to work out at home or with limited equipment. So feel free to comment down below what you guys want to see next from me. And if you guys ever have questions on form, need advice, things like that, you guys can always comment down below or reach me on my Instagram. If you guys feel super overwhelmed with your fitness journey or you just feel like you're stuck in a rut and you'd like someone to guide you through it, I also do one-on-one coaching, personalized programs, and I would love to work with you guys and help you guys get onto the track of wherever you're trying to be. But I'm super proud of you guys for taking the effort to find a video and find something to inspire you to get moving. And good luck. I hope you guys love the workout, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Be sure to subscribe. Bye.